up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 12.25, Blackstaff, where we are covering the novel Blood Rites. My name is Tanzan, and I am joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
He was the most extraordinary man I ever knew.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us to do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at www.patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 35. Dresden gets the truth out of Ebenezar about his title of Blackstaff and his knowledge of his mother, Margaret LeFay.
Boom, just like that.
Keeping it simple. So Dresden starts to question McCoy with how he knows Kincaid. Ebenezar tells him Kincaid is his contemporary and they're in the trade.
Apparently they know each other really well.
Ish, and for a really long time. Because he met him, a few centuries ago in Istanbul?
Not Constantinople?
No.
And Kincaid is older than he is.
About a century ago, and he was already... It's kind of cute. He's like, well, I still had all my hair then, and he was already, centuries older than me, and it's like, what? Which, I remember sort of bringing this up before when we were talking about it, but I'm coming back to it because I can't remember now whether or not I made that point. So when when Dresden is all, just plain vanilla mortal, and Kincaid's like, yeah. So yes, we already established, obviously, that Kincaid wasn't, but, the line he specifically used or whatever is, I'm as human as you are, Dresden. Did I go into the whole, are we then wondering if, Dresden has, some unhuman, because now we find out that Kincaid is, Scion here. Mm-mm. He's potentially, because it doesn't sound like Ebenezar knows 100% for sure, but he's yeah, there's things that aren't fully, so he's half human and half scion of something else. So again, is it him trying to bullshit him, or is it him trying to drop a clue to Dresden being well, I'm as human as you are, which means that. And Dresden does have a lot of powerful stuff in him, and as we learn in this chapter, his mom was pretty fucking powerful too.
And again, we can't say that Kincaid's not just a liar.
And we can't say that he's not just a liar, and the whole Starborn and blah, blah, blah. But again, it just kind of was bringing it back to that moment a little bit where you're yeah, is he just full of crap, just bullshitting with Dresden at the time? Or...
And it's hard to say because Harry himself doesn't seem to question it at all either. He's all right, whatever, Kincaid.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
But yeah, obviously you're not just mortal, right? So yeah, it's obviously he's not vanilla mortal, but just as human as Dresden is.
Well, again, we went through that whole...
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you see Murphy as an angel, but she's not actually an angel. Oh, yeah, you see Kincaid as a devil, but he's not actually a devil. To the point now where it's no, he's a Scion. What the fuck are you, Harry, right? But to that point again, too, right? Maybe Ebenezar and Kincaid and Harry, none of them know what the fuck they're talking about. Everyone you hate, he's working for this guy. He's been alive for a couple of thousand years, so he can't be human. Or he just made a really good deal.
Well, I don't know.
Because that's how it works with the Knights to Fairy, right? They just make a fairly good deal, right? They're stronger, and they're aging less, and they're not as all fucked up and...
Yeah.
Geriatric. Because he was an elderly man when he died,
Ronald
Tolkien.
Rule. Yeah, Tolkien. He was also an old man when he died, I believe, yeah. Yes. The Summer Knight.
Yeah.
Can I ask, because you're saying Scion, so he's changeling, so he's half mortal, half she, right?
No, so changeling is mortal
an example
she.
of a Scion.
But
okay, I missed that because okay.
Yeah, so
I assumed he was
no, yeah, he's saying that Ebenezar says that the fairies can breed with mortals, and that's where you get changelings. But he's saying there's other things that can breed with mortals. And Kincaid, so the scion is just like an offspring.
Human and something.
And yeah, whatever, right? So, well, I was going to say because we can use it otherwise out of simply fantasy context. But yes,
so changelings was just the example. It wasn't, okay.
Was one of the examples. So all changelings are scions, but not all scions are changelings.
But to that point, you might then make the argument that just wizards and witches are not human, in which case anytime a witch and wizard has a child with a human, then they're a half-breed, mud-blood scion. Maybe they're using the word scion super loosely. And that's why Kincaid is all like, bitch, we're the same. You're half, I'm half. What's the big deal?
Because that's the thing is he doesn't say, because he says the line specifically, which again, may or may not be, I mean, I don't know if we're reading anything into it, if it's just a line, but the line was, I'm as human as you are. So, given now that we are exploring the context
my God, he's Pinocchio.
Kincaid is not, exactly. Kincaid is not Pinocchio.
Real boy. He was a fucked up changeling fairy, half unicorn, half behemoth monster, whatever. And then he met a blue fairy and was like, make me a human. And she's like, all right, bet, no problem.
That's exactly how that story went.
Yeah, 8,000 years ago when he made the deal.
Right.
Because she's a fairy, so she knows how terminology is going to be in the future, and she wants to seem hip and cool.
She's the one that actually started that terminology.
Yeah, she's influencing Gen Z a lot. Now's her time.
You know what?
So anyways, that's my point with that is does it matter the specific phrasing of I'm as human as you are? It could be him just being bullshit, then being like, yeah, I'm just the same, or it could him being like, well, I'm not 100% human, but I'm as human as you are, because you're not 100% human either. But yeah, scion, I was going to spit that as whether you use it. It doesn't have to have just the fantasy connotations of being mixed with something else, because we can use it in the real world too. But yeah, it's
I think it's a nicer tool on Butcher's part.
It's right. It brings that question of, is this something we're going to come back to later, or is it a throwaway line, or right?
We've had this before though too. It's like, how much did Butcher plan ahead, and how much he's like, whatever, I'll figure this out later.
Well,
scion means a lot of things. We'll figure it out then.
Well, and this is the thing, right? Like I say, I remember early on, I forget exactly at what point, how early on, but I know, again, that he was like, oh yeah, I got this idea for 20. But so you knew he had a fair, but like you say, how much of that was specifically planned out?
And you can't have 100 characters planned out.
And you can't. No, that's not gonna, right?
So I would love to see that poster board of spider web.
Oh my God.
I imagine Butcher's office is literally just the yarn and the post-it notes everywhere.
And he's got the Bible, and it's got all.
And now his son has started writing, so now they got a color code post-it notes. And
right.
Now I used your plot hook in my book. My bad. I forgot that was your note.
Yeah, but
but
we don't know.
Obviously, we didn't start this podcast at book 5 because he only started planning things out at book 5, right? There's been shit from the start.
That's the thing is exactly that's why it's always so hard to know, and again, always so hard or always so easy in hindsight, right? To look back and be like, oh yeah, I can put that together. But because even you say watching TV shows and stuff like that, and again, Buffy's a big one where you can be like, oh whatever, I just kind of thought that was a thing, because obviously there has to be the occasional throwaway line in a.
And yet.
Because things, exactly, right? You're like, well, things just have to happen. People have to say things and then, but then by the time you get to the end of an episode or the end of a season or the end of a thing, and you're like, that was a lot less throwaway than I took it at the time. And so was that? Or did they hey, now we can build on, right?
A lot of people get on my case all the time because they're like, I don't know a lot of readers. And they're like, you just talk about one book series on your podcast? And I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of threads, okay? And they're like, all right. And I'm like, no, seriously, this author puts a lot into his books, okay? There's a lot. They all looped back around, and they're like, all right. But I find now when I'm reading other books too, I'm so much more of that person who's like, but why are the curtains blue? I don't trust you anymore.
Yeah, right.
I'm right though. It's so much more prevalent now that I'm noticing it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh yeah, that character likes to draw in chapter 1. That's gonna definitely be a thing in chapter 20.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we get to chapter 20, and this character being able to draw is suddenly a big plot
Yeah,
point.
because all of a sudden you're like, there's never just a throwaway. The fact that they're mentioning them drawing obviously has to relate at some point somewhere to something. It would never just be a thing.
Worse in TV shows because they're smaller segments, so their actions have to be more significant, so everything has to mean something.
That too, and that is the other thing I love sometimes about drawing the parallels between visual media and the literary media, right? Because literary you have to describe everything, right? So you're like, oh, there was a green willow tree,
no,
and you're like,
no. In TV, your characters have to be wearing shirts, right? The viewer is going to notice that, okay, he's in a green shirt, he's in a blue shirt, and he's in pants, and he's in jeans. And you don't care because it doesn't matter. People can't go naked on TV, right? But in a book, you don't have to mention what anyone's wearing until it becomes important. So as soon as they're like, he's wearing a green jacket, I'm like, what is that? Why? Who cares? Why is that important?
Well, yes and no, but that's what I mean, is that's such a position of sometimes exactly. Sometimes you're like, oh, okay, these are just the details. Like, exactly, nobody's pointed, because in the visual media, exactly, they can just have stuff, and it's up to you to notice, like...
A Starbucks cup.
Okay. Right. Okay, but Sixth Sense, right? We're not doing any spoilers here now if we talk about this movie, and it was important at the time what, like, Bruce Willis's character becomes important by the end of the movie on what he's wearing. And it's incidental enough because he changes the combination of those that it never clues in, but when you gets pointed out, you suddenly realize, oh yeah, that's the same sweatshirt the whole way through or whatever, right? And it doesn't seem, but again, because again, you're right,
Well, and
people
M. Night
just...
Shyamalan puts symbolism like up the wazoo in many of his stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, right, at that point, that's sort of like her thing, like, okay, obviously he had to wear clothes the whole time. Bruce Willis couldn't be walking around naked is the thing it would have, right? So, but you don't think, so I'm like, again, it's able to be prevalent and thing without having to point it out the same way, right? Which sometimes makes it harder, because yes, in books, sometimes you're like, well, yeah, he pointed out that he was wearing a sweatshirt and a pants because obviously you can't let them know any other way than by telling them. They're not going to see, right? So it becomes that mix sometimes of sort of how much they point it out in a show to make you notice it and how much they rely on you to just, and then same thing in a book, on how much that description is, because this is going to be important later, and how much is simply like, I have to describe everything to you because you're not here to see it. You know, so you're like, is the fact that it's a willow tree matter, or is it just a tree is a tree? Like, he said it was a willow tree, does it matter it's a willow tree? Could it have been an aspen tree? What if it was a poplar tree?
Just the other day, me and my friends went and saw a movie, but the whole like the whole like cast is a little bit like B-list. Like, we recognize the faces, but it wasn't like top Hollywood.
Hey, it's that guy, yeah.
With the exception of one minor character, was like a super big like face, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here, right? And he was playing a minor character, right? So for me, who doesn't give a fuck and doesn't think ahead, I'm like, la 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 la, and all my friends apparently clocked that this is gonna be the killer by the end of the movie, because like the only famous person has 2 minutes of dialogue in the beginning of the film and then never comes back again. And they basically all clocked like the big plot reveal just based off of who the casting it was. And I was like, Jesus Christ, guys. Like, it came at the end and I was like, what the fuck was that? And they're like, yeah, no shit. Like,
yeah.
As if you're going to put the biggest name in the movie in for 2 minutes and then nothing else. Like,
right. Obviously, he's got to have a more significant.
Right. But I was like, well, I didn't clock that at all. I just thought he wanted to be involved. Maybe like his nephew was the director or something.
And this is the thing, right? Because you have like Deadpool 2, where Brad Pitt, who I think most of us would agree is a pretty big name,
Scream
was in it for 2 minutes.
They top billed for Scream. They top billed Drew Barrymore, and they kill her in that first scene.
Yeah, right. You know, so sometimes it's not always 100%. Like you say, sometimes it's like they wanted to.
Gag.
It's like you say, it's a gag, right? You're like, oh, they just want to, or they had something, and you know, because
in the case of like Brad Pitt, though, in 2 minutes, you know, it's not like he was the only famous person in Deadpool 2. Okay,
that is fair. He
when
was
you've
not
got
the
an entire
only,
cast of 1,000 famous people, you gotta kill some of them off.
Fine, but you know what I mean? Yeah, fine.
This is the end with Seth Rogen and all his friends. Amazing film. Whole point, kill off all the famous people.
Yes, fair.
A bit of a non sequitur, or kind of, maybe slightly related. Have you ever seen Tusks?
No.
It's a Kevin Smith film, and it's a sort of like a horror but comedy. But I was like watching it, and I was like, what? This detective, because they're in Canada and they're making fun of Canadian stuff, of course, and it's the same guy that directed Clerks, so it's got that little bit of that weird feeling to it. Yoga hosers. They like making fun of Canadians. It's part of the shtick.
Right.
But they have a detective from Montreal, and it's Johnny fucking Depp. They give him like this false nose, so he's got this really weird nose, and he's just, you're like, is it him? And you can only recognize him by his crooked tooth.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, see, sometimes exactly. It's like you never quite know. Is it just they thought it was funny and want to be a part, or like their nephew's directing it, so they're like, here, slide me in somewhere, or exactly, is it a whole significant point?
Please, Uncle Bruce Willis, please be in my
Well, that's funny. Like I say, I'm not usually the horror types, but I just came across yesterday that they did a remake of Watcher in the Woods, and I was like, really? I'm like, it's not the one that I know. I'm like, I remember that movie. Like, I'm pretty sure, but again, yeah, but I'm like, but I don't watch horror, scary, thriller stuff, and I'm like, especially not when I was a kid, but I'm like, I swear this is, and I'm trying, so I look up the original, I'm like, yes, this is the one I was thinking of, okay, yeah, that's the point, and that's the point, and it was really crazy. I did not know that they redid it. It's from like 1980, and they redid it in like 2017, and I have to say, I don't think just for the purposes of, oh, that's the original one I remember, but I'm like, I think they made the plot line dumber. It seemed to hold up less in the second one. I'm like, I don't know why you changed the reasons for, because it just seemed a lot lamer.
Usually is a common complaint about reboots.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Revisions.
Yeah, well, sometimes because it's like, like you said, you're like, oh, it's not the one I remembered. I'm like, it's not even for that. It was just like, again, I'm like, okay, would have been better. I think I'm like, why didn't you just sort of redo the story as it, like, even if you had to update bits and pieces of it, I'm like, you sort of completely changed the reason for the plot, and it seemed even less supportive than the first time for mysterious weird shit going on. So I'm like, I don't see how that was an improvement. But yeah, it's funny because it had like Angelica Houston and stuff in it. And I'm like, so you've now got a worse remake with, again, another like huge name in it, but whatever. I don't know. It was really. I like Angelica Houston. It was Betty Davis played the role originally, so it's a big name in it then.
With her eyes.
She did have her eyes in it. I promise you. It would have been a whole other kind of horror movie without. But,
Oh dear.
but yeah, it was just crazy. I was like, oh my god, like one of the few horror movies I actually know.
And speaking of horror movies, Kincaid was working for Dracula, Dracula's
God.
dad.
Yeah,
That's a crazy
Wait,
resume.
Dracula? No,
was a
not
nice
not
pull
that
back
schmuck.
there, by the way.
Not that schmuck.
I'm good at that.
Yeah. The
17
original.
minutes in and we're still on the first page.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, it was all wrong. This is what we're here for, is to discuss these things and the expansions of them and what it means in the literary world.
Hello, our name is
You don't-
Free Flow Rambling.
You don't want just a recap of every episode.
Way to justify it.
I am
Good
that's,
job.
I think, yes. This
Yes.
is what we're here for.
Just figured out that both of us don't take our attention deficit medication before we record on the weekend.
Makes so much more sense to me now.
Details. So unimportant, people.
So part of this resume of working with Dracul, who is the father of Dracula, and obviously Ebenezar's, pinning him at least like 1,000 years, because I'm going to pin Ebenezer like at least 500 years. Something. Okay. So let's say double Kincaid's age, because why not? It's just fun.
I'm pretty sure, and I'm only saying this because I think you're the one that put the timeline, or brought attention to the timeline, because you might not have done the work, but I thought Ebenezer's supposed to be like 4 something here.
400 and something?
Yeah. I feel like he's in his 400s.
Okay. I feel like rounding up to 500 works.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine,
whatever.
too. I don't know. I wasn't
Whatever.
there when-
Kincaid is supposed to be older than him, okay? So
Yeah.
he's older than 500 years, give or take. Whatever, fine.
Yeah.
Dracul's obviously got to be around for some amount of time.
Yes.
Doing whatever.
At least more than
At least 20 years longer than Dracula.
exactly.
And apparently Kincaid is still afraid of Ebenezer.
Yeah! Which is kind of, so you're like, okay, they had a thing, but exactly, and when Dresden's like, but he's afraid of you. And all of a sudden you go, ooh. That wasn't just like because, you're like, oh, a little tense moment, but you're right. He was like,
He's not
quick
just
to
a
draw on,
a cranky country coot.
Well, and we had this whole, I told you I'd kill you if you never saw me again. That's why you haven't seen me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Dresden stepped in that moment to be like, whoa, you're both on my team and I'm in charge right now, so shut the fuck up. But
You already cashed your checks, too late.
we look back on that and see Kincaid was like, I'm about to die. Harry's totally set me up. Oh my god.
Right? Like, what mild-mannered little old Ebenezar here?
Such a great reveal for
Right?
Come to find out, the wizards have had this, ace in the hole this whole time that, well, when our laws get in the way of our doing what we want, we have a loophole.
he is the man in black.
Right?
So if you are a wizard and you write 7 deadly laws of magic, or illegal laws of magic, or do not ever fucking do these or we kill you laws of magic, and then the other team is like, all right, but we don't give a fuck about
Great.
your laws.
You just tied your own hands.
Yeah, right? Okay, don't kill us with magic, idiot.
Yeah.
Suddenly, they're all like, oh no, how do we get around that?
I'm like an evil, villainous nickel
Sorcerer.
head guy. No, but nickel head guy who, blah, blah, blah. So you can kill me because I'm all, but if I go and get myself a whole mortal staff and have them running around doing my bidding, gee, that's illegal for you to just walk around and start killing them? Gosh, what am I going to do?
As we've seen from Harry's point of view, happens all the time.
Yeah.
They all employ human staff that Harry's constantly like, well, can't kill them.
I mean,
Turns
just
out-
magic. That's also why he carries a gun.
With magic, yes.
But exactly, yeah. Throws you out on that whole, which way?
So, Harry's feeling a little betrayed because Ebenezer's the guy who, took him from this dark, twisted, being evil, using magic for evil life, and was like, that's not how it is. You gotta believe in magic. Magic is pure. You gotta use magic for good. You cannot warp and be warped and blah, blah, blah.
I feel like you should definitely have a song insert here. I feel there was a lot about, magic. I'm like, is there?
But which song?
So many. I'm sure there's about 3 or 4 you could choose from there.
magic.
When, right? That just felt like she had half the lyrics there already in her little segment there that it just should naturally flow into.
Well, I was going to part the Hounds of Hell part.
Must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell.
Or in this case, Hound of Hell.
So, Ebenezar McCoy, Blackstaff, title, weighty, do whatever the fuck you want, free pass.
Right.
That's convenient.
Well, it takes somebody that does have a strong sense of the rules and morality to be able to actually wield that in an ethical kind of way.
And that is
break rules in a way.
Absolutely,
You know
because
what I mean, right?
I agree with that a lot. Like, because I get why Harry's getting pissed off because he's like, yeah, you taught me it was all about. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, should we have given this rule to Justin? What the fuck would Dumort have done with this rule? Right? So yeah, I think in that way, exactly. You're gonna take the most ethical, the most in control, the most.
He doesn't want to break the rules, but he will.
Look at this from just the senior council, he's been refusing to be a part of for who knows how long, right?
Yes.
And the black staff, clearly not a senior-only position because he's been doing that well before he was a senior member.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the Merlin, and you've got to have this senior council, and then you got to go and give someone, essentially, just on your level of power,
To do whatever
to assign
the
the
fuck
black
you
staff,
want,
right?
yeah.
Because that's a weighty fucking role, and it's a secret role, okay?
Yeah.
Essentially, nobody but the senior council knows about it, right? So for them to go and secretly select one man to have almost more power than they themselves, right?
Essentially, well, he does, really, because again, as he says, he's like, I was given my orders. But then we also find out what's the point of being given a ignore the council card if you're not going to use it. So while they give him orders, he also has the ability
Still
to
his choice.
ignore those orders, right? Which is interesting because I also find that as he goes on and talks about Margaret LeFay and all this kind of stuff, and he's like, I had my orders about her too, and I'm like, I get that. And obviously, yes, the point is you are there to act on behalf of the council in a lot of ways, but it's also that very fine line because you've also shown you can just say, fuck you to the council. So do you have orders or do you not have orders? And which orders do you follow and how important? And if you don't have to follow the orders, then what orders does it matter if they can give you orders at all? Are they in control of you at all or not, right?
And not only that, but the Blackstaff position is an appointed position in secrecy. All the senior council members, those were elected positions. You get it from seniority, but the council, all those people still voted.
Yeah.
There was still a vote that took place, and I assume that the Merlin himself would have also gone through a vote at some point, if not for the Merlin position, then just to get into the senior council position in the first place.
Yes.
Right? So, like, just even more to that effect of just, like, you're so out of bounds and out of the rules from what all of the wizards of the world are thinking that they're all operating on.
Well, so, no, okay, but it's senior council is elected, but not, right? Because it goes by senior. So basically, like I say, when McCoy got in, he got in because there was nobody above him that could take the position. He was the highest one, and nobody below wanted to challenge him for it. So I don't know. I mean, does it always go between the first, because the Christoph guy or whatever was supposed to be? He's like, oh well, I can't
Challenge him,
Can't
yeah.
challenge him because he's older and wiser and is more deserving of the position or whatever, right? Had he though? They don't really explain how that decision would have been made, right? Like, could anybody else below that? Could there be like 3, 4, 5 of them going for that position?
Well, yeah, they did say anyone possible just didn't show up to the meeting, right?
Yeah, some of
Or
those.
they
But
got killed in a raid.
And looking back on it, that must have just really fucking pissed off Merlin. Like,
Oh,
completely,
beyond.
Like,
Yeah,
don't you
which is
fucking
what-
have enough power, Ebenezer?
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sakes, really.
yeah, and again, not like you could say it at the time. You
You're
already
the
have
unofficial
that
member.
thing that I can't.
You're the veto vote. Like,
Yeah. But anyways, right, it just makes you wonder, like, again, would it simply have come down to, like, an argument with the senior council of between them?
They
or would
vote
it
for
have been, like,
Kristoff,
a
and
vote?
Ebenezer just kills him anyways. You know what, bitches? I went through this legitimate way to make you happy, but I don't gotta.
Oh, God, you guys haven't read the Black Jewels.
I'm just saying.
That would be a fantastic reference. But yes, exactly. If you just keep killing all the competition, then you're the only one
I'm allowed to
left.
do this.
What? Nobody else wants to? There's other checks and balances in place for getting onto the senior council kind of a thing, whereas, yes, you're right.
And Henry takes so much anger against this. Like, I can't believe you lied to me. I can't believe you didn't tell me. We said a little bit about this in the last episode, too. But, yeah, you didn't need to know that, okay? It's a good thing that most people don't know that, all right?
his medicine was bitter.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he did. Like you said to Murphy. Like,
Well, it's the same idea. Yeah, the most of us are all
that
like,
sucks, doesn't it?
yeah, our government's probably doing shady things behind the scenes. There's jokes about the CIA forever and ever,
What?
right? And then,
I thought that was just all on the internet. They don't really do shady stuff, do they?
oh no, it's never been proven.
Oh, okay.
Ever.
Good. Whew. I was going to say, I didn't think
No,
our
it's good.
government...
We're good.
We're Canada. We've never done anything.
No, definitely not.
Canadian. Okay.
And
You
those
ha-
Wikipedia pages are not accessible.
You had me worried for a moment there, Jessica. Whew.
Don't
Okay.
even worry about
no,
it.
conspiracies are all just in the movies. I gotcha.
Exactly.
You know, at least one of our listeners is like,
You
guys.
Anyways, point is, is that ignorance is bliss, and you are happier and better off not knowing, and that something should stay conspiracy theories for just the betterment of society. Okay.
Right? I am so with and without, because part of me is exactly the same thing as I brought up last year. I'm like, you are so mad over like bullshit, Harry. Like I get, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, stop and think. If you take out again sort of the mystical, magical things and stuff like that, and yeah, somebody in your life who had essentially raised you or
Took you in at a hard,
took you
bad
in at a
time.
hard time, whatever, you know, familial or big brother or work mentor kind of a role that was. And then, yeah, I found out that all that shit they were spouting you is do as I say, not as I do. You'd be kind of like,
Hypocrite.
what the fuck? Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like,
But again,
I
as you
can't-
said, it has to be from an ethical person to even have the role in the first place.
Yeah,
Which
and I
means I think Ebenezer does really believe in this. He just himself isn't allowed to follow it, or doesn't.
well, he does. But this is the thing is that, yeah, exactly. He obviously does. I don't think any of that was bullshit. I think that is how Ebenezer approaches magic, and whether it was from day one or at least by the time he, took up with Harry or whatever. Because let's face it, you can have some life moral changes through
400 and some odd years.
Yeah. Not that I'm saying he ever took it from like a dark place, but he might have become more even so to the straight and narrow, whatever.
He really does have to live in the gray area
But
to be
yeah.
able to error correct.
But that's the thing is that if you were going to have that power, if you're going to be some kind of a judge or a lawman or a whatever, that, yeah, exactly, right? You do have a certain, policeman using force when somebody else is being attacked or something like that, right? You're like, okay, well, I'm stopping you from beating this guy up. It just so happens I broke your arm in order to stop you from beating this guy up. You know what I mean? Like, right? It's everybody has to. And so, yeah, and I think a lot of it here is just Harry's emotional, probably throughout the whole day. Like, literally, he's been through immense physical trauma, which has drained him and fucked him up. And even though that is kind of at bay right now, it's like you say all the other whatever, right? That I'm like, yeah, I think he's just not clearly seeing any of it. And he's getting all pissed off for reasons that
and the way
don't
he's
have a lot of rationale.
asking the question doesn't really help Ebenezer explain, because he's asking him very specific questions like if he's killed people, of which he has to say yes to. He can't just be like, well, these are the circumstances,
Let
and
me
this
justify.
is why.
Yeah. Well, let me explain how that all, and it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like in the just raw, have you done this? Yes. Oh my God, right? And it's like, but there's...
Well, even Harry
Gee,
himself.
Harry, have you ever killed anybody?
Even Harry himself he was like, well, I justified that whole Casa Verde thing, thinking like the humans weren't in the house when you did it.
It was just the bad guys
Just
you
the
killed.
bad guys, and Ebenezer's like, no, bitch, be realistic. I took down everything, everyone.
Yeah, I dropped a satellite on that whole area.
Right.
It's, yeah.
No, okay, they're all done for.
And even he kind of says, yeah, it would have been nice. I would have been nice to separate it. But yeah, basically he's like, no, I just
To
need
take the weight of the consequences of leaving him alive versus
because yeah, he says
loss of
exactly. He's
life.
like he was going back to band-aid up and come the hell back straight for you. And Ebenezer's like, nope, I had enough at that point.
and it wouldn't have been just about Harry living or dying. It would have been a lot more casualties involved if Ortega's
even
stayed
like
alive.
Fair is fair. They're in a war right now. Okay?
Yeah, well, and he says, he's like, they took out more in the strike against Archangel than they had at any other point. And that was like the start of the war kind of a thing, isn't it, right? So now you've already taken out more wizards than ever before, and you're going to continue, and you're going to take out one of our next big players that's causing you guys some trouble, and to go out, right, like exactly right. It's like it would have just continued with the complete, and if not devastation,
And
definitely decimation of
Not
the White
since
Council.
this war just started with Harry. In all of the history of the White Council,
Yeah.
he took out more enemies.
Yeah,
Like,
like that's what I mean. This is their
Yeah.
biggest blow ever,
Ever.
right? So yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what? We're not waiting around anymore for him to, get his shit back together and try for ground two. He's had his chance. We're just gonna squish
This
him.
guy got a little bit too overzealous about it, so fuck him.
Yeah, unfortunately, that means these guys are going down too.
At the same time that like Harry is asking very pointed questions, I think to a certain extent McCoy is also answering in a very guilt-ridden way, because he like
Like some of that because
I think he knows that he's done all these things, and that yes, like ultimately they were for good,
You can't.
altruistic almost reasons, kind of.
He says
but yes.
in this chapter, before you, I trained your mother. She was my apprentice before you were my apprentice, and I did a really bad job with her. I was way too strict, and I turned her dark.
Way too hard.
I tried to do the exact opposite with you, so he knows when you've basically raised this guy to be on the good side of things, and okay, this is what we believe in, and now you're taking down the birthday party decorations, and you're like, all right, enough of that, welcome to real life again, yeah? That's a harsh change.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
I think he biases his answers, though, but with he fucked up. Like, yep,
Well,
like you said, he
again,
fucked up.
when you're the person who's, been painting this whole rosy-colored glasses on everything, right? And then to be the one to also be like, well, okay.
Okay, in all fairness, I don't think rosy-colored glasses is the right analogy for that, because I don't think that.
Well, okay, but
the
himself.
the straight and narrow, the no matter the cause, do good kind of a thing, even when it's hard. It's not always easy to do the right thing. Or he says very much here when they're bringing up Archangel and Casa Verde, and Dresden basically says he's like, there's been others, and he's like, yeah, there's been Krakatoa and a word I can't say and the other thing, and he's like, so help me God, at least a dozen more. So right there, he's definitely coming at it with guilt right then.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't like the fact that I have had to do a lot. And like you say, most of that will have been council sanctioned. He's just not running around on his own every single time going, I'm going to wipe out you guys, I'm going to wipe out you guys, I'm going to, I'm sure a lot of that is exactly that. He's not acting until the council says, yeah, you got to do this. And, he again in the moment probably had to weigh some of that to agree that, yeah, okay, time has come. Because, again, obviously he does have the right at sometimes to say, fuck you to the council, but not very good if he says fuck you to every time they want him to do something too.
You think the Blackstaff is on the front lines, though. Like, he sometimes is just at those moments, and it's not like he's, like, sitting at home and they're like, gotta go call in the big guns.
Well, yeah,
Senior council is out there at war.
Yeah, there's going to be a combination of exactly being called in to go do this and simply you're in the middle of shit at the time and, oops, I'm going to make this go. Like, I mean, I would say that Casa Verde was a little bit more like that. I mean, again, he wasn't legit in the fighting, but exactly, it's like shit was happening right then. Harry calls him up, is like, oh, I have this duel. And he's like, we'll get you out of it. And he's like, no, I can't. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to get you out of it anyways now that we can.
There's this moment that I think helps fix it all and brings it, tones it down for both of them when Ebenezar's like, listen, okay, one of the people I was supposed to take care of is you and I didn't. Oh, yeah, turns out when Harry got assigned to Ebenezar, it wasn't because they were trying to annoy him because he didn't...
took care of. I was like, yes, he did, but yeah, you mean like...
yeah, to kill him
take him out of the
right?
picture, take care of. Yeah.
They sent him with... They didn't send him home with Ebenezar McCoy. They sent him home with the Blackstaff.
Yeah.
And Harry got Ebenezar McCoy.
Yeah.
And he should be grateful for it. And
yeah.
shut the fuck up.
Which is because,
you should be grateful you're only meeting the Blackstaff now.
Right? And you can tell that it takes him a minute because he's like, wait, you don't just send, a hothead off with, and McCoy's like, yeah, exactly. Hello. And, and yeah, he kind of gets that little bit like, I'm still pissed, I'm still mad, but also maybe a tiny bit of, oh, wait a second. I got a second stay of execution I didn't know about there.
I gave you plenty of reasons to kill me. And he's
yeah.
like, sure did.
He's
You were
like,
just an angry kid who'd been hurt.
yeah, he's like, what? And see, I find this, man, fuck, life, parenthood, whatever, it's all kind of fucked up. Because, right, so, okay, Ebenezar's 400-ish years old now, and obviously Harry is not yet 30. So he was well on his way by the time he got 16-year-old Harry. Don't know how old he was when he trained Margaret LeFay, but again,
We know she was at least 200s.
We do know that already, yet she's okay. So, right, so again, so he had to be a couple hundred years old or something like that to be, so it's like, again, right, you always make the joke about, like the oldest kid and right, how the oldest kid is like no freedoms or so much more strict or never allowed to do this or that. And like the youngest kid, they're like, oh, whatever, do the, because they've learned from their mistakes or this or that. I'm like, how hard? So, and who knows? It doesn't say here. We don't know yet if Ebenezar had any other apprentices before or after. We're going to assume maybe not a whole lot because you'd think he would have had more data to pull from. So assuming that Margaret was his first or one of his first, and he went big ol' strict, and she went, fuck you, and rebelled against the whole damn thing. It was like 200 years, and of watching like other people have like kids or apprentices, and none of this wears off. You literally, this is one of those things you never learn until it's yourself. You can learn nothing about watching like other people raise children or whatever until like you have your own. It's like 200 years old, he still didn't have a fucking clue. He still did fucking everything wrong in the book. Fucked her up beyond all measure, and then was like, okay, another 200 years, let me try this again. Okay, Harry?
Again, I don't think that many wizards are taking on apprentices, okay? Because that's just annoying, okay? You got a lot of shit to do every day, and constantly having to train these, like, twerp-ass little kids is probably not super fun, even if, more than Dresden, they're respectful.
And I think there's probably...
And it sounds like McCoy's pretty busy on his side.
That too. Also, I feel that there is a certain level of, especially more senior and senior or adjacent to senior, is that you're just not taking on as many apprentices because you've got, you don't need to be doing your PhD anymore, okay? Like, you've got other things to do. But
400 years, he said, because again, there's not a whole lot, but there's still a fair amount. Somebody's got to be training these people.
There's a lot of wizards, though, in the mid-range, okay?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, you just said I don't think any wizards are taking on apprentices kind of thing. But
I think
so you're
more than a few. I don't think any wizard really ever trains more than, like, 2 or 3 in their lifetime.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying is in the
There's
whole world
enough of them that everyone's really only willing to do it once or twice or maybe a third time, then they're like, all right, that's enough of that. I got shit to do.
I guess,
it's like,
potentially.
Again, it's like the mid-years when you're studying for your master's, okay? You got to go be a TA for a while, all right? You're a student, you're a teacher, you're graduating above that.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I do get to a degree. Just, again, it feels like in most... I mean, like, if you want to look at it in terms of, like, doctors and things like that, right? I'm like, hey, fine, not every doctor works at
Residency never ends.
Yeah, well, there's that, but fine. Obviously, every doctor has to go through residency, but not every doctor continues to work at a teaching hospital and therefore has residents of their own, right? So I'm like, I guess it's, there's some doctors that'll have 100 different residents and other doctors that'll never train another doctor again in their life, give or take. Other than
and maybe there are wizards that just prefer to train. Yeah.
Right, maybe it's it's just kind of funny. It's just, again, we're talking about the usual lifetime, the lifespan of a doctor is what? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I'm like, you're a human being, you've only got so many years to... Whereas again, in 400, you'd think you'd have time to...
Yeah, there may even be a vocation for the wizards that is a teaching position.
Which is possible, and also apprenticeship isn't necessarily always an orphan, right? A lot of them probably do have families, and you just come and check in every once in a while and to be like, all right, these are the laws. All right, we've got a meeting next Tuesday.
It's like the Weasleys.
Yeah, it's not like you need to fully adopt them every time and bring them to your house and see them every single day.
Absolutely. I understand that, too. I wasn't thinking, but I mean, like you say, it's not every... It's not sort of like Harry Potter, where, again, wizarding families are going to have...
Academies.
No.
Non-stop generations.
Oxford House. No, okay, but I was going to say... The Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, both being wizards, were pretty much guaranteed to have wizard children because both of them were therefore, right? Whereas, again, you can have a non-wizarding and a wizard, and then again, you've got maybe you will, maybe you won't.
In the Dresden files, wizard is a recessive trait. In the Potter files, wizard is a dominant trait.
Yeah, but exactly. Yeah, so
that.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
Punnett square, bitch.
But anyway, point being, so I get that exactly. In Dresden's world, there's a lot more you may or may not come from, right? Because again, as he points out, with all those little like McAnally buds and stuff like that, anybody can start manifesting or showing signs of some kind of power at any age or stage. So I get some of them might be born into quote unquote wizarding families and some of them might not, and whether or not you need to be entirely trained or not. But like you say, I think the basic principle comes down to whoever that is or whatever that is you all need some kind of training, because that's Harry's other point, is that all these people that are running around without any, like the Kim Delaney's of the world, need something somewhere, whether it's their mommy or their local guy down at the pub or whatever was all. But anyways, I just find it, funny that again, in this hyper-expanded lifespan of 400 years, they still can't fucking ever figure out how to, It's kind of like, nothing, we're just gonna, okay.
That's what makes them still human.
Right, that's what makes them still human. Yes.
I have a quick question. Like, was this mentioned before and I just didn't notice it? Because when he's talking, like, Harry asks McCoy what else he's keeping, and he mentions, like, he knew that the council knows that Harry is the son of Margaret LeFay, and then kind of goes through this description of how Margaret LeFay basically gave 2 figs about council law, and they were supposed to execute her and whatnot, but it mentions that at some point that she'd also been an associate of Justin Dumorn. Was this mentioned before?
No, it's not been mentioned before.
Because I was like, what the
fuck? Crazy, right?
Because that really, puts a bit of a coloring on
one more
figure.
Fucking layer, right?
Well, we learned later on too, like, people were expecting Harry's birth, right? A lot of people were expecting Harry's birth, and a lot of people showed up at that hospital and they'd already lost. Bing!
Like, that was holy shit. Like,
no, I think you're right.
I
don't think that she had. This is the first time
it's been brought up, and it's
mentioned in conjunction with each other. But just among her,
and Harry himself doesn't care.
Lord Ray, Dumont. Yeah, it's just I don't have time for that shit right now. We're focusing on Yeah, you're right. He doesn't even jump on the fact of like, wait, my mother knew what?
It's
the guy
one
that adopted
thing-
me and tried to turn me in.
So it's one thing to think that your mom is all hooked up with this vampire evil overlord who's got this mojo, dojo, psyche, whammo, whatever. You can forgive your mom for that because it's like, whatever. She was being totally manipulated into that. Not her fault. But the guy who adopted and abused me was your friend?
Right?
What the fuck?
Yes. Yeah, you would think he would have... I don't know.
Lashed on that a little more. But again, you're right. He's crazy. There's a lot going on. He's lost a hand.
Maybe it's one of those things that where we weren't privy to that information before, but somewhere else in all his Chauncey baiting little things, maybe he sort of come across this before somewhere and knew. I don't know. Who knows?
That feels like a giant.
It does feel like a
bombshell.
giant thing, but it's like, yeah, maybe.
Well, and maybe just because they go into how Lord Wraith basically used an entropy curse to kill her in childbirth is really like,
Boom! Wait,
it's just
what?
too much, and that was like
Yeah.
this guy is still alive for him to be able to get revenge on. So let's focus all our rage there.
Yeah, and yes, exactly, right. Justin is long gone.
It's gone because that was...
Yeah,
that
I
was
killed
that
that asshole already. Okay, now who are you telling me is on the list? And yeah, he goes from like 0 to like 160 in. And this is, again, kind of a cool moment here of him all of a sudden like...
what the hell?
The thing... And right... And again, that background of sort of, right, you can just feel like you're immersed in Harry and Harry's... And you can feel that Ebenezer kind of from the outside, that Harry... You know what I mean? And you're just like, it's consumed with him too until...
But thinking your mom has died from childbirth, and you can either A, feel guilty about that and be like, that's my fault, or you can be like, okay, not my fault, that fucking sucks, but shit does
happens.
happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
childbirth.
that's still really traumatic and horrible, and sucks that
Never ever got to know my
to
mother.
find out
because-
that just happenstance while she was giving birth, somebody shot her in the face.
Yeah.
A little bit different. Oh, yeah, she did.
That's not quite dying in childbirth.
Yeah,
yeah.
that slightly changes it. Yeah, okay, she died in
Childbirth, but was not the cause. The childbirth now is not. Yeah, exactly. I know.
He now
right?
recognizes that it was a legitimate murder.
Yeah.
Like, done.
So,
This
right.
was not just bad luck on the whole. This was
20-something years ago, a different entropy curse went off, and guess who the victim was? Another person our terror was in love with. So, no. Somebody stop him.
these serial monogamists.
I really did like that how Ebenezer was able to really take control of that moment and just shock him out of that rage, because like we know that Harry gets mad, it's bad, especially when he goes blind rage. Like,
Right? Yeah. Bianca's
Which is
mansion.
probably something that Ebenezer's experienced before when he was supposed to kill him.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Some of these. Let's get you out on a farm in the middle of nowhere, so when you have these little blow-ups, you scare a few horses and don't decimate a village. Exactly.
Listen,
right.
say what you want about the White Council, okay?
We do often.
But first of all, you're going to execute this kid. Doesn't work. You're going to send him off with the Blackstaff. Doesn't work. And then you're going to put the chains of manacles of
the Doom of Damocles.
Doom of Damocles over him too. Like they tried.
The manacles of Damocles.
Fuck. They tried so hard though. Like that kid was under surveillance for like 21 years.
They did, but it's all kind of part and parcel, because the reason isn't a lot of the reason he gets out of the initial execution is become Ebenezer sort of coming to his
Taking
defense
him on.
in
And then
the
he's
trial,
allowed to leave
and then-
Ebenezer by doing the Doom of Damocles instead. But
Yeah.
still, I'm like, holy shit! Like that was a solid 5 years of like.
I don't think he necessarily realized just how much his life was in danger that entire time. Like,
Well, this is the thing, though, is I think he knew, because he was well aware of the whole
but not to the extent.
instant execution and Doom of Damocles thing, right? But now, yeah, this is an extra layer when he finds out that, yeah, you got sent home
His
with the
safe
head
spot was actually his.
head assassin. But yeah, that's what I mean, is I'm like, I don't think he was really under any illusions about, like, he knew full, because this has been his whole entire bitch from book one, is the fucking council looking over his shoulder. Fucking Morgan, you know what I mean? Every time I turn around, every time I call a fairy, every time I pick my nose, Morgan is there going, what are you doing, right? So yeah, so he's like, not only did I have all that super extra stress, but I'm like, I could have like 10,000 times more of that super extra stress. Like,
Just thinking,
would
like,
he even
every
functional?
Every time you went home and bitched to your mom or your dad or whatever like that, and you're like, I wanted to kill this guy, I fucking hate everyone. And that's the person who's like, yeah, I'm supposed to put you. I'm gonna kill you
I'm
for
keeping
saying
track
this.
of all these.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Let me just write that down in my diary real quick.
right?
Well, I can
Like,
see why like Harry gets super fucking like upset over
I get
knowing
the betrayal.
Because really like that means at any point to this day in this period in the book even that if Harry fucks up, McCoy is going to be the one that's going to
yeah,
take
that's
him out.
true. Forget
So
about
it's not
Morgan
even
following
like-
him around. Is that exactly his father
protector,
figure, his
yeah.
protector father figure that saved him from all of this could have literally shown up and be like, I don't know, would that have been like a whole Obi-Wan Darth
Could
Vader
still
thing?
be the
Like,
executor.
yeah, now I have trained you and taught you and loved you, and now I'm going to chop your head off because you're still not getting it, kid. You know, like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Everyone stops to take a breather, and then we go and we grab our magic mind.
I need a moment to refocus, draw myself in, to
intense.
reduce some of the stress from this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
And for that, I'm going to head right over to the fridge. I'm going to grab myself a magic mind because that shit is awesome. Yeah, just a little moment to calm down and recollect and refocus.
And something that's been helping us refocus lately is that we have been given these magic minds to have and consume.
This stuff's great.
Yeah.
You gotta really try it. It's tasty. It's effervescent. It's got matcha, which is, you know,
Probably the most popular, well-known ingredient of the bunch. Everybody likes matcha. If you've never been to a coffee shop for a matcha latte, you're missing out. But you're going to continue to miss out because now you just need to drink this instead.
right.
Actually,
I mean,
yeah.
it's got a compound in it that prevents cortisol levels from spiking, and you don't get a crash from it, which is great.
Yeah, I like that it works alongside. It's not meant to replace your caffeine intake. It's supposed to work with it to help make the most of that in any given situation, right?
Well, the bad
So-
thing about caffeine is that you always need more and more and more to make up for it the next day. But with this one, just
You
one
don't.
every
You
day is
need
enough.
That with it.
Lasts
So
you
yeah,
all day.
you can take it with, you can take it without. You can.
It's got neurotropics in it. Helps your attention span, which is
Nootropics.
particularly good for at least 2 out of the 3 people in this group.
Why? Whatever do you mean?
Poor Jess.
For me.
Yeah, because her mind never wanders.
No, I'm...
Well, that's why she needs it for stress and anxiety. She has to deal with this.
And I have found it to be very calming.
I
It's probably
can
my number one
absolutely
notice.
guarantee that if you are a healthy and sane person, this still helps you. And if you are a crazy and
Unhealthy?
insane person,
Helps you
it
pretend to
helps
be
them
normal.
anyways. They're clearly doing fine enough.
If you want to give it a try, we do have a link for you, magicmind.com/McAnally, McAnally, and we've got a code for you to use, McAnally20. So give it a try. It gives you a great 20% discount if you want to just give it one shot. And if you want to go for a subscription, there's some extra added bonus there too.
50% off. You can stack them up together.
Yeah, if you order from the next 10 days.
Get all
They
the
stack.
monies off.
Money, money, money.
Do it. I just want to sing the Suits theme.
It's called Magic Mind, guys. It goes with the podcast.
Really, it does.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
If you're going to go out and spend money on buying yourself potions and things, this is the one to do.
Start.
All in the name.
So Ebenezar's trying to plead with Harry, and he's like, dude, you cannot let your rage consume you. Now's not the time, and he's not the target. He will kill you. It will not work. And Harry's trying to be this all like, fuck that, I will be the guy to get it.
Yeah, he's like, no, I will totally. And McCoy's like, no, you don't get it. Like, I've tried 3 times. Couldn't get anywhere. What the fuck are you gonna do, little boy? And Harry's still just like, let me.
So if you had like how Marvel cards has like ranked statuses on them, if we did that for the Harry Dresden wizard world and ranked these guys with these cards.
Oh.
They've got their own card game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
we have to try.
right. So exactly. So we go, okay, Kincaid's a badass, and we knew he was a big badass to start with, and now all of a sudden we find out he's afraid of McCoy. So McCoy, who already knew was a badass, is such a badass that he can scare the shit out of Dracule's centuries older than him right-hand man, and now McCoy can't go after Rafe because Rafe is such a badass that McCoy has tried going after him and can't get near him, and he's still, and you're all of a sudden you're going like levels up on, and you're just like, these guys went from like big badass, like I don't
There
know.
are terrifying things in Harry Dresden's world.
They went from like 9-foot tall giants to like 900-foot tall giants.
And-
They're like, what the?
Hey, but none more powerful than
Fuck.
the fucking queens, and Harry went to war with them, no problem.
I don't know. At this point, do we know? I'm pretty sure Matt had a few things to say to Ebenezer that book too, didn't she?
Oh, well.
But yeah, exactly right. It's suddenly but all the tables are turning too, because then Harry starts putting all this other shit together that exactly, because he's like, well, Wraith has been losing face and stuff like this, and this is the other thing. Actually, you talk about him taking her own childbirth. They're also like, she would have thrown her death curse. He's like, Ebenezer's like, she would have thrown it and she would have wasted it because he's still there. To which Harry, like, oh, so now she's incompetent as well as evil. But so it's like, okay, so this guy, right? So this guy's brushing off death curses. He's staying 3 steps ahead of McCoy. What the fuck are we dealing with here? Like, is he
And he
stoppable or
hypothesizes
not? Like,
maybe he's got to deal with some big old demon or god or something, because
that's
how the
juicing
fuck?
him up. Yeah.
But no way to know.
Yeah. So, yeah, you go from already where you're just like, yeah, it's, big, but they're all each bigger and bigger and bigger.
And
like
not
every
only that,
paragraph.
but Ebenezar didn't go after Wraith until he killed Margaret, which means he's tried and failed 3 times in the last 20-something years.
Is that specific to that?
Which means this is
No.
like,
do we know? I feel like...
I've gone after him. It would have had to have been within the last, like, why would he have any reason to go after Wraith until she got...
Because he's a psychotic vampire lord?
Okay, but they all are. You can't go after every single one of them.
We have to at least assume one of those attempts were after.
I think all 3 were, at least since she's become his not scion, what are they? Thrall?
Thrall?
Or Thrall adjacent?
Thrall adjacent.
But, so that's only a few years before Harry's born to all the years after, right?
Yeah.
Which means this is like max 30 years old that he's tried 3 times and failed.
I don't know, he does, it's not, yeah.
I can't imagine why he tried any time before that, okay? You can't just go after everything in the world.
How their politics
but
works, there may have...
I'm just going to say, I can feel there absolutely would have been reason, like, yeah, obviously, Wraith has not been the head because when he has a conversation with Lara about it, she's like, the Wraiths are in charge right now. So obviously, I mean, there could have been any number of reasons for whatever. So I feel like
they're always trying to fuck around with something.
Because all he says is, he's like, Harry, I can't let you indulge your rage. You'll kill yourself. He's like, I'll take him with me. I got out between gritted teeth. And he's like, no, you won't, Haas. He's like, how do you know? I've tried 3 times and I didn't even get close. And you think your mother went without spending her death curse on her murderer? The creature who had enslaved her might as well ask if fish remembered to swim. So nothing in there does it specify that, right? Because he's like, I've already tried. And then your mama did with her death curse, right? Almost to me sounds like, yeah, I'd already had a shot at him.
No.
Her death curse.
That's not how I read it. I read it, I didn't have a reason to be mad at Wraith until he fucking killed Margaret LeFay. Then I tried 3 times and I failed.
But see, even then... What reason was he had at that point other than like, oh, she's a wizard, we only get to kill her? They were all out to kill her, so why does he care if Wraith killed Margaret LeFay either, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying her, yeah. All right, folks.
I would like to go in the middle and say it is both correct.
No, it's not. It's me.
Yeah, I just think that he could have had plausible reason to. Yes, he could have been all in the last 3 attempts in the last 30 years, but I feel like there's also potential that he could have.
Maybe we don't cut that at all because we didn't say the spoiler. And if you know, you know, and if you don't,
I
you know,
think
we're trying not to spoil it for Hansen.
Cut.
I remember that part. That's pretty hard to forget that one.
And Harry's whole point is all like, well, what the fuck? You don't even know her. Why the fuck are you doing this? And that's when Ebenezar's all like, well, she was my responsibility. And it all boils down to the fact that Harry's still, at the end of the day, angry and betrayed by Ebenezar. I was like, I don't care. I trusted you and you betrayed me. How dare you? Get the fuck out. But first, fix my hand. And Ebenezar has a pretty cool trick up his sleeve. Now under Harry's sleeve.
Yeah.
This string of pearls, beads, whatever, that's gonna
Little
like
white beads that
absorb the pain for him for at least 24 to 48 hours.
Hello, I want me some of this.
The stones that absorb pain is pretty freaking cool.
Especially considering
The pain.
What that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you imagine what McCoy could do for a headache? Like it never happened. Back pain? What back pain? Like,
Man's never had a migraine in his life.
right? Well, at least not until he learned how to do this spell.
Now since he met Harry.
That was the when he met Harry, he's like,
He's like, let me just make you into one of these stones.
I have to up my healing spell game now.
I'm gonna go invent Advil real quick.
Oh my god. The headache to end all headaches, Harry Dresden. Ooh. But yeah, fixes him up with this neat little fancy schmancy coolie, which again, it's so funny because it comes with this paper bag and you're half expecting, like, I guess he did get like some ointments. He gets like some regular like polysporin and then slaps a spell bracelet on over it just for the,
Infections can happen to anyone.
Hey, you know what? Infection is infection, exactly. You need a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, a little bit of the
You're not going to see a doctor for another day or two?
A little science, a little magic. We're just best of both worlds here. We're just gonna, make sure this all...
And, dramatic Harry. I don't want you there. I don't know you. I never did.
I know. And I mean,
He's
it's
such a
especially
princess.
considering he acknowledges it right here. Because, at least McCoy does have
He still wants to help.
but has the, the courtesy or the whatever it is, exactly like, do you want me? Like, I'm still on your side. I'm more than happy to back you up. I want to come help you.
It is good that he doesn't force himself on.
Yeah, it doesn't just assume, right? It's, you kind of say, like, okay, I like that on McCoy's side. He's like, do you want me to? But again, Harry's like, 5 minutes ago, I would have been hell yeah. But now my panties are in a twist and you hurt my feelings. So I'm going to say no. I'm going up against this guy. He's told me he's tried to take out and failed at. I am now like supremely injured. Physically, mentally, emotionally.
Honestly,
But no, I'm not going to take... You know what, me, Murph? We got this. It's fine. Murphy's way better than you, Ebenezer, even though you just gave me this magical bracelet that's going to suck away all my pain.
At the end of the day, what's really changed, Harry? Absolutely nothing. You're just a little bit more aware now. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Same as the time was Murphy's gotten mad at Harry for keeping secrets. Like, sometimes it's legitimate and it's fair. You need to grow up and deal with that.
Hey, man, I guess emotional hurt, right? Doesn't always
He
make
still
you
needs
think
at least
clear.
a little bit of time to do it.
Yeah.
It's still pretty
Plus,
raw.
I mean, plot point.
He's pretty
right?
young.
But yeah, I was going to say it's a slightly...
I feel for Ebenezer here.
I do. It's a slightly weaker moment for me on that. Like, again, if it was some other... Like, I don't know if he was just going back to the set or something even to do stuff, I could be like, right? But he knows he's taking on the next big step. He's about to go face off with the big bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
Get it.
You just helped me with this whole locking down Mavra and vampire thing. And you dropped a satellite on someone's head. But you know what? I got this. You can do nothing for me because you didn't tell me that you do bad stuff sometimes. It's like, yeah, I feel like it's not quite proportional.
And especially for how vulnerable Ebenezer has been here, it's not like you're going around telling everyone, okay? Presumably, only the senior council fucking knows.
And he was straight up. He said, you ask, I'll answer, and he has.
Yeah,
There's not
100%.
really much he has not, like, maybe he hasn't offered more detail, but he has not hedged about a lot
I'm
of it now.
happy with all his answers. It never seemed like he was
Yeah.
like, except that one. No, not that one.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
right?
He didn't have to do it at all.
Like, yeah, no, but he
been
didn't.
as
But that's
forthright
but
as
that's what I mean is he hasn't skimped on what he's getting right. He hasn't right. It's like he is basically fully. Yeah, I mean, again, if there's shit Harry hasn't answered that he hasn't volunteered yet, that's a separate thing, and that could entirely be blamed simply on the whole emotion of the conversation, and everything, anyways, right? But yeah, exactly. It's not like he's giving him half answers and still holding back and not right.
And
He's
knowing that Harry's not telling him everything? I mean, you picked up a coin last summer. Who have you told about that?
yeah, right,
Like,
right.
hello?
Exactly, and yeah, like all the things that you've never gone to him about or since or still or whatever, like, what about all these little like back deals you keep making with people that are like, and you've said yourself, like, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there, but I really gotta watch it because eventually that's where you end up with the fucking tower of them, and right, but exactly, is he going to Ebenezer and being like, so I kind of need a little bit of a deal with a kind of bad devil that told me some, because I needed this, right? It's again,
We don't know much about it yet, but we have already heard a little bit about He Who Walks Behind a few books ago, right? Harry's not told anyone about that shit.
one. Yeah.
Like, you've got your own secrets, dude. You're just such a hypocrite.
Which I remember, I probably said it at the time or not, but I remember once that separated at some point, because I had totally read that into like part of the Doom of Damocles originally, the He Who Walks Behind, that was like and then I realized, I'm like, oh shit, no, wait, there's more. That's separate from that's still another thing hanging over his head. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But
Never
yeah,
ends.
I think just because the first time as he mentions them right away, he's like, He Who Walks Behind, and I got the Doom of Damocles. So I just somehow read it as like the same thing. But yeah, exactly, right? Like. Harry's got a lot. But yeah. But you hurt me. You can't. Oh my god.
But what about me?
This all happened. We had a whole co-worker night last week, and of course the drama all happened. Because the 20-year-old who's seeing the 40-year-old flipped out and lost her shit because she thought the 20-year-old had left him there even though he was like standing 2 steps away talking to somebody else. So then she starts freaking out, and then police get called, and then the other two, the 20-year-old, she just turned 21 on Friday, who's dating the 35-year-old,
Oh my God.
who has like an ex-wife and 4 kids that went back to Lethbridge now. They got into it because of, and I'm like,
I hate
so
your
by
job.
the end of the night when we're all trying to go, and this is all outside of work, and they're all upset, and I'm like, what is going on? So we figure out the one girl, I'm like, does this really matter? Like, does couple B, who cares what happened with couple A? Shouldn't you be worried about like your girlfriend? Not there. Like, okay, their shit's done. She's taken. She's done. So why are you two still fighting about their shit? You're not even fighting about your own shit. You're fighting about their shit now. What the hell? Ugh.
This concludes our episode 12.25, Blackstaff. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.